You are about to enter the no spin zone. The factor begins right now.
Hi, it's me, sexy man Gale Hawthorne from hit series The Hunger Games. You might know me for my jawline and the invention of the double tap strike. I'm a scourge to animals, the Geneva Conventions, pretty girls, and my own back, literally. There's been much confusion among the masses lately that I, Gale Hawthorne, will teach you people of the People's Front, how to combat fascism and its moderate wing, social democracy alike. What we are seeing emerge in the Revolutionary Party of Panem is called a two-line struggle. One force among the revolutionaries, the correct line, pushes us onward into a brighter future. The other is influenced by the capitalist class's ideology. These trends have become antagonistic and incompatible, and must be met with either correction or expulsion of the regressive line. The counter-revolutionaries I'm referring to are led by Plutarch Heavensbee, Minister of Communications, whose very name invokes the superstitious conception of heaven, a lingering conception left by bourgeois ideology. Plutarch believes in a conciliation between the remaining capitalist rotors and the noble masses of the districts. However, his ideology is best embodied by the liberal moralist scold known as the Mockingjay, aka the Mocking of Right Ideology Jay, aka the Mockingjay, aka KKK Atnis SS Everdeen. Used to the praise of the backward section of the proletariat, she was once a figurehead of our movement, but irretrievably strayed from after the ultimate betrayal of Supreme Leader President Coyne, who as the great helmswoman of District 13 won countless battles against the revolutionary hosts, only to be backstabbed by this counter-revolutionary little bitch who won't even text me back. Those without an understanding of dialectics may argue that she was suffering from what the bourgeois medics call a mental health crisis. True proletarians will know that through proper study of Coynist ideology, the mind will overcome its crises through the resolution of the dialectic of disbelief. Katniss fails to understand that a revolution is not a party at Greasy Say's, but the violent changing of material conditions. The so-called war crimes committed with our so-called double tap strikes that killed her so-called sister, Primrose Everdeen, cannot be proven, and if they did occur, they were vital acts in defense of the revolution. I would be remiss to not also levy criticism of the known social democrat and petty bourgeois professional class so-called class traitor Peter Malark, who is indeed full of malark-y, as he questions the correct line held by followers of Coynist thought. True Coynists have long known PETA's preferred art form, weird little cake flowers, to be a highly decadent form of individualist pseudo-postmodernist expressionism. Now he critiques reality itself with his undialectical real or not real game and whiles away his day living in the suburbs of District 12 when he should return to the people and join the group of body harvesting brigades. Just as we tore down the paper tiger of President Snow with the help of a real tiger who was a MILF cat girl who lives in downtown of Coin City and runs clothing distribution now, we shall now tear down the false consciousness created by the revisionist line that has emerged in Panem. Once Coynist thought has been grasped by the masses, it will hold a power greater than that of 1,000 tracker jacker nests. Until that time comes, please continue to turn into Gale's Red Consciousness Corner and make sure to hit that like button.
Had I a nickel for every YA sexy man Jacob turned into a Maoist on this show, I'd have a dime.
Jacob, what were you saying that you wrote this? I remember this from the book.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm just stealing. Yeah. That's what happens at the end.
That's what happens in the book.
Yeah, look forward to book 4 on contradiction.
Cointradiction.
Welcome back to Workers Lit, y'all's favorite podcast about the battle for the narrative. And we are wrapping up quite the battle this week. Because this week we're talking about Mockingjay. We are talking about the battle with the Capitol. We're talking about the time that President Snow was overthrown, the Snow administration cast down to the dustbin of history, and then everything in Panem was cool forever, right, y'all?
One could even say that there was one battle after another.
True.
Let's do one battle after another discourse.
Yeah, that sounds great, actually.
It sounds like a good plan. So Mockingjay came out in 2010. So I mean, these books came out back to back very quickly, and I'm just gonna say it right now. When I read this book again, listeners to this trilogy will remember this trilogy of episodes. Will remember that I read these books, in middle school and haven't read them since, or maybe early high school and haven't read them since. I hated Mockingjay. I thought it was dog shit, and now I think I really like it a lot. What is y'all's
I've
experience?
completely turned around on it. In my head, like for the last 15 years, I was like, okay, Mockingjay is the bad one. And I was wrong. Mockingjay is the best one. And it really took like 15 years of growing up and becoming radicalized, I think, for me to see that. Also, just having been a writer myself and just like I can like hear the conversations that she had with her editor in writing this book. And I think probably we hated it for the same reasons, Jacob, but I'm gonna let Lenore say how she felt about it.
Well, there is I think there's a little bit of malicious compliance in these conversations with her editor, right, Aisha? Because like if you strip out all the stuff about them fighting like lizard people and doing the fucking like Chips challenge stuff in the Capitol, like you lose about 40 or 50 pages, right? But
there is probably more time given to like being on morphine than there is to like lizard people, to be fair.
Yeah, because you know that the editors and the publisher were like, these are the Hunger Games books. Where's the Hunger Games?
Yeah,
we need more games.
Like, where's the weird like challenge stuff? But like once you get done with all of that, once they're in the Capitol, like you see how many pages are left in the book, and it's like, oh shit, there's like 40 pages. They haven't killed Snow. Katniss hasn't decided on like which boy she wants to be with for the rest of her life, and so like it's with a sense of mounting dread that you get closer and closer to the end of the book, and you're like, oh wait a minute, we're not going to get a happy ending. We're not going to get a particular like resolution to a lot of what we've built up, and that's war, baby. That's the point.
Yeah. This book, I think, it does not give you a hero's journey. It does not give you a satisfying ending. Katniss doesn't really, she doesn't, I mean, she changes as a character, but she doesn't like learn and grow. Like there is nothing YA really about the ending of this book. And it feels very unsatisfying. Finnick dies in like an extremely undramatic, completely like he doesn't even die saving anybody. He just gets got.
Yeah.
And I remember being angry about all of this because I was like 22 and stupid. But now I think it rocks. I think that like even the stuff with like Coin being just as bad as Snow, I think is good.
So when I read it, exactly that. I was like, well, there isn't, I was like thinking in the terms of my like English classes. And I was like, well, you're supposed to have that. And then the resolution and the falling action and I was trying to map it onto what makes a good book because I was mad about it. And, it was in my assumption that if I was mad about how something ended, that meant it was bad. Right.
There's more than 5 paragraphs in this essay.
Yes. But another thing that I had trouble with was at the time I was like, so like, is it, and looking back on it, the way I remembered this book, like even if you had asked me 6 months ago, the way I remembered it was this was a book about like kind of hopelessness and the idea that like, oh, there's nothing that we can do to fix anything because, oh, well, everybody's just as bad as everybody else. So whatever. And we could, that argument can be made that like Coin being so bad is kind of like both sidesism, but it's not that. Like when I read it, it's not how I read it. Now that I reread it, I instead reread it as like, actually, no, like this was a necessary fight back, but also there were horrible opportunists in the movement trying to take over the Capitol, and whether or not they were going to be as bad as in the question. They were going to do horrible shit, or at least from the perspective of our protagonist, they were going to do horrible shit, right? You can say, well, actually Katniss didn't see the bigger picture, whatever. Someone could make that argument, but that's something that I don't think I got. I guess I thought it was kind of like this liberal moralism when I was looking back on it, and it really, really isn't. So yeah, I thought this was great, and we'll get into it, but I will say while this book was generally well reviewed, it was less well reviewed than the other two for some of the reasons we just discussed. There were definitely fans upset about it. Fans who have rewritten the ending abound. You of course see that for any series, but really, really abound for this. And I should just say right now, the movies suck. They're so bad. They're like the first two movies I like a lot, and then they've split Mockingjay into two movies, which is insane because there's less action and there's no Hunger Games, right? So the second movie has like literally all the action scenes in it, except for like Katniss shooting one arrow, basically. And it's dry. There's a few good scenes where you have the hanging tree scene, and that's nice. But yeah, and that also I think further kind of marred my perspective and made this one the bad one. Turns out no, those movies sucked. They didn't have the same courage of their convictions. So
yeah, I think like what you said about like it being kind of I could see the argument that this book is nihilist, and it's kind of the same argument that I see people make about Disco Elysium being nihilist. But what I wrote in my notes here is that it takes active, sustained effort not to repeat a cycle of violence.
Yes.
And I think that that's what Katniss was doing there. And like, she probably wouldn't have thought of it like that, because like she was pretty much acting out of impulse and fear. But like, it is very easy for people who have been hurt to hurt other people. I think that we see a very famous example of that is now, blowing up oil fields.
Yeah.
Like, and I think literally, like, I've had my dad, who is a Palestinian refugee, say to me when I get too happy about, our enemies being hurt, he's like, don't let that happen, because you don't want the Palestinians to be the ones who take out our fear and pain on the next generation of innocents. And I think that that's like a thing this book really comes to grips with. I think that there's a couple also very, very obvious like one-to-one comparisons to real life, like the parachute bombs being like Hiroshima, like we need to end this quickly kind of thing. I think that you could make the argument that, and it's not a happy ending, it's a depressing ending. But this is not a story. This is a story about a revolutionary. It's not about a story about someone who like then gets to live in the better world the revolutionary creates.
Right. A revolutionary, and not a particularly ideological one. Like one, again, kicking and screaming into every situation. Very brave. She wants what's best for people, but once again, very much driven by guilt and necessity and just personal preservation, which very often is the most revolutionary thing to do when you're someone in her shoes. I also want to say, before we just get into it, the plot of this book, I think this is the best written of the three on a technical level. I think the writing, especially between, like, if you read between book 1 and book 3, like just descriptions, prose, Collins has really found her like voice on how to write this in this world, how to relate to Katniss, how to move in Katniss's mind. The prose is it is for the most part, it can skim where it needs to skim, and it can get detailed where it needs to get detailed, and it is harrowing. I mean, it will it's perfectly easy to understand. Like, it's not like this is too hard for a middle schooler to read or a high schooler to read, but it is at the same time, especially for a YA novel, especially when we're thinking about what YA novels typically look like. Definitely, as Lenore said off mic, leaning into the A side of YA. Not to say that I don't think kids should read it. I think they should. Like, kids should read shit that like they don't get. That's a good thing to do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, when I think about stuff that was coming out, not exactly at the same time, but around a similar time, I think about Harry Potter. Right. And I think about how there is no PTSD to be found in those books. Right. There's one alcoholic character, and it's a slave that's deprived of her master. Right. God damn it. You remember Winky from book 4. Yeah,
I do. I just got mad about Harry Potter again. I'm sorry. Continue.
Well, that's why there's just been like reams and reams of fan fiction written about Harry having PTSD after the books and like him and Ginny breaking up immediately because like they can't see each other without being triggered.
I liked the part where Hermione told Ginny that Harry will choose the one of them that he can't live without. I think that was really good.
That's why he chose Draco Malfoy. Sorry.
That is Draco Malfoy in the Hunger Games killed instantly.
No, but what you say about like a revolutionary not being able to live in the world that the revolution creates truly is 100% true, right? Because Katniss we're not exposed to the ideology of District 13. We're not exposed even to their culture. They have a strict, severe regimentation that's born of the absolute necessity of fighting the stalemate with the Capitol for so long, certainly. But there's no real ideological element to the struggle that we see, right? Not even because Katniss doesn't have access to it, right? It's something she doesn't pay attention to if it exists at all.
Right. Well, yeah, I think that like I don't think Katniss is a stupid person.
No.
But Katniss is a jock. Like Katniss doesn't really think. Katniss is like a high strength, high dex build. She doesn't really have high intelligence or charisma. Like she's not doing a lot of thinking.
She's doing perception checks and like it's someone.
Yeah, she's rolling a lot of perception checks, a lot of dexterity saving throws.
She runs a perception check and she hears the voice Katniss in the distance and she's like, "Huh, that's kind of weird. I should shoot PETA about this."
Yeah. I also really do think that it's interesting, like, that this book exists sort of in the tension of revolution. The back and forth that you have to sort of, I mean, because like liberal portrayals of revolution like to be like, well, you know, we can't become the monster. When they go low, we go high type shit. And that can never really be borne out in real. Any true revolution has never been like that. But also, like, having to exist in this place where you have to say, like, sometimes you do have to draw lines and say that we cannot fall to their, like, we can't kill their children even if they killed our children. Sort of, and the tension that this book allows itself to live in. And to sort of like go back and forth where Katniss can't really decide what she thinks is right. And like when Gale explains the way he sees it, she's like, well, I can't really disagree with him. He's not wrong, but also this doesn't feel right to me because she has such an intense empathy for pain that's right in front of her because she's experienced so much pain herself.
Well, let's go through the plot here. Folks will probably remember very well the plot of the original Hunger Games, maybe even Catching Fire. I feel like people get fuzzy on Mockingjay. I certainly was. It's a little bit more complicated.
Also because like not a lot happens in this book until like the last 50 pages. Like this is like a thinking book. Like, which also might have been why that I was like, oh, this is gay when I was reading it or whatever.
Right. Mockingjay, more like.
Yeah.
The book opens with Katniss in the ruins of District 12. As you may remember, because of course you listened to our Catching Fire episode, District 12 gets completely obliterated following Katniss's escape from the 75th Hunger Games. And the book opens with, quote, "I stare down at my shoes, watching as a fine layer of ash settles on the worn leather. This is where the bed I shared with my sister Prim stood. Over there was the kitchen table, the bricks of the chimney, which collapsed in a charred heap, provided a point of reference for the rest of the house. How else could I orient myself in the sea of gray?"
I love that the book opens on where, because the first line of the Hunger Games book 1, right? When I wake up, the other side of the bed is cold. Now that bed's fucking gone.
Yes, it's in the exact same location. It's that same house. Book 1, she wakes up in that house. Book 2, she is in an unfamiliar house, right? A nicer house, but unfamiliar, wanting to go back to this place. In Book 3, this place has been turned to ash. Not only was this place bombed, but there was a thin layer of coal dust over everything, so shit burned for the most part. And she has basically taken up with District 13, who, as you may remember, District 13 is basically this district that was above ground obliterated in the war 75 years ago, but due to its nuclear capacity, basically was in a detente with the capital, built an underground society, and has basically been in like barracks communalism ever since. Like just strict rationing, strict, very military society, highly. It seems like it's all very necessity driven. They almost have died out multiple times, pox, things like that. It seems like there is a genuine, we'll get into Coin's problems, but their president Coin does seem to live with very few relative privileges. There doesn't seem to be a lot in the way of privilege here. This seems to be a very, pretty consistent society that exists with the ultimate goal of taking down the capital. It has been decades in the making. The surviving population of District 12 has gone there. Katniss has gone there, and they need her to be the Mockingjay. And girl is 17 with like the worst PTSD you've ever seen. So she's having trouble with that. I think I remember being a kid and being like, Katniss, get it together. And now I'm like, kind of impressive she does anything at all, to be honest.
Yeah.
Get in the robot, Katniss.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
So they're trying to like get her to be the Mockingjay, the symbol of the revolution, and in doing that they're having her basically just do TV spots, which I think is really funny. But like that kind of is even more so than when the book came out. Like that is like propaganda now. It's like people getting on TikTok or like Instagram and doing like, TikTok dances in front of war zones, like literally like the fucking dancing Israeli soldiers and stuff like that.
And vice versa, like people like Basan in Gaza, like literally showing, not doing dances, but showing like on the ground videos of things going on, which is, I mean, we'll get into the hospital scene, but I couldn't help but think of Gaza with several moments of this book.
Right. We meet President Coin, who is the leader of District 13, who is Katniss immediately doesn't like because she's very cold-blooded.
I was trying to think who's the best real world analog, like historical, to President Coin. Is it like it depends, I guess. We don't really get exactly what Coin's vision for Panem is. But Katniss is very skeptical because she, again, doesn't want to be a piece in anyone's game. And certainly Coin wants to control everything. What do we make of Coin as a character?
You get, I mean, Coin seems like a bitch, but also you get certainly the idea that like it is through her leadership and the people like her that they have managed to exist and that they have managed to build up this resistance, because they have quite a robust, like they have tons of weapons, they have tanks, they have nukes. Like they are like they basically it's like if Hamas had nukes.
Right.
Like they have tunnels.
Like literally they've got tunnels, whatever. It's like a organization, I guess more than an organization in District 13's place. Basically a mini city that has managed to survive despite all odds. And in doing that survival, in that very, justified confrontation, have become very brutal in their methodology and in their ideology. I think that there's a lot of real world resistance movements that can be directly compared to that.
We touched on it a little bit before, but like the necessity that is engendered by their like survival footing, right, it's created such a perfect informatization of like every aspect governing their physical quality of life. Like it's like calculated so perfectly, like caloric intake necessary, like where everybody needs to be at every specific time to make this society run, to the point where like you have such perfect information for the running of the society that every morning you get a temporary tattoo of your schedule on your arm, and that's your life. And I admit that I was enchanted by this society because I like following rules.
Yeah,
but,
Katniss, however, does not.
Yeah,
Katniss has the anti-autism.
Yes, Lenore, I would like to share with you at some point. I got to find it again, but I saw years ago a fan fiction with that was like a kink version of District 13. It was like it was District 13, but it was like an elaborate kink society.
Oh, so like on your arm it says like 11 o'clock, suck dick.
Kind of, but it was also like
2 to 4 free use,
Yeah, no, it was literally like Katniss was like, will I be I remember like, will I be depending on my behavior, will I be a sub or dom in District 13?
I'm trying to imagine sub Katniss. It just doesn't seem.
No, yeah.
Gail tried to imagine that too, and
I know that's the true Gail Katniss problem. That's a two-top problem.
Mm-hmm,
yes,
stone fucking tops.
They need PETA in there.
Yes,
but that's the thing,
situation.
right? When you have such a society that's so regimented and rations everything down to like the specific number of pencils that exist, right? Like, you also start to see people that way. At least that's how I feel. Collins is communicating to us about coin, you know, to the point where like they have a very advanced propaganda apparatus. You know, now like people's the algorithm basically is as much of a weapon of war as any of their nukes.
Well, right. and they've got the former head game maker Plutarch Heavensby, right? He is bringing with him a lot of capital baggage. He's like, you don't have like coffee here? Where's my latte? You know?
I like that guy. He's cunty.
Oh yeah. And Philip Seymour Hoffman is like the redeeming part of those movies.
Oh shit.
He is.
Yeah.
Honestly,
you said that already.
He died halfway through filming, I believe. So like he wasn't in part 2, was he?
He has a scene in part 2. He had filmed a scene that they basically put him at the end meeting with Katniss because it's basically a scene where he's like talking to Katniss, like, okay, so what do you want to do next? It's actually, I think his last scene that was ever in a movie, and it's beautiful. He's great, you know, no disrespect to him. It's just unfortunate. The movie, actually the entire cast is great in those movies. It's much more of a structural problem.
I think a really good example of like the tension that this book kind of lives inside is when Katniss finds her prep team.
Yes.
Yeah. That's where you mentioned, like, I had a note here that very early on that was like, I'm a completely uncritical District 13 stan. And Jacob's like, they have some issues. And then it wasn't long after that I got to the bit where, Katniss's prep team has been in solitary.
Right. So we find like the three sort of like silly, like the three silly homos that you meet in the other game who like Katniss, I think
they have green hair and orange hair and pronouns. Sorry.
Blue hair and pronouns. Yeah. She clocks them as like silly, privileged, but ultimately sort of harmless people.
Right.
Like just products of their environment, where she thinks like if I had grown up like them, I would probably be the same way. Because Katniss has a really easy time sort of putting herself in other people's shoes. So we find that they've been literally like put in, like, if not tortured, then horribly neglected in prison for, they say, stealing bread. Because, like, they're not used to not being able to eat whenever they want to. And Katniss is like, this is unacceptable. Get them out of here. What the fuck are you doing? And then Gale is like, why do you care about those people? And she's
Gale says, she was like, well, they don't know. I mean, and then Gale says, they don't know what, Katniss, that tributes who are actual children involved, not your trio of freaks, are forced to fight to the death. And it's like, we run into this. Yeah, we run into the thing that will occur endlessly in this book, which is Gale is right, but also Katniss is trying to see past the cycle of endless retribution.
Right. Like Gale is right. And it's the thing that it's like, when you get down to it, it's like, yes, there are people who maybe deserve in the grand balance of scales, if that exists, if, you know, there is a time when your heart is weighed against a feather. Like, maybe there are people who deserve to die. That said, maybe all of us in the Imperial Corps deserve to suffer for what we've inflicted on the rest of the world. Because obviously, like, these capital people are, like, supposed to represent, like, sort of innocent Americans, kind of. Right. You know, like, innocent, quote unquote, you know, like, normal people who just happen to grow up here.
Sometimes you grow up in the capital, you become a cat girl, all kinds of things.
Exactly.
We'll get to that.
And I think it's really interesting that the book is not willing to say whether who's right, because I don't know who's right, kind of.
Yeah.
And Katniss doesn't, because she can't really argue with Gale. but she also is like, there's something that's not right about that. Like it's like the sort of human animal part of you that kind of is like that can't logically argue against like utilitarian thought, like
Right.
the greatest good for the greatest amount of people. But there's also like some like nagging part of you that's like, but that doesn't feel right. Like it doesn't feel right that if there's somebody being hurt in front of you, sure, there's nothing that says that you have to help them, but there's just like something in us that doesn't want to just watch people suffer.
Yeah. I think too, what the book does come down on, if not just, Suzanne Collins sitting down and saying, and here's the correct position, the capital people certainly are useful, right?
Yes.
If nothing else, the capital people that are willing to betray the capital, certainly are useful. This prep team is able to help Katniss present herself to the people. Plutarch Heavensby and his crew are able to really coordinate all kinds of stuff. The people in the capital, there will be people in the capital on the ground who will help the revolutionaries. That would be the sea for them to swim in, right? So if nothing else, whatever is deserved, quote unquote, certainly they are useful to the cause. The cause at this point too, that's kind of the dynamic of the war. And Katniss is no like tactician really, so she's not paying that much attention to like the actual way the war is moving, nor is anyone that interested in her knowing.
Yeah, she's just doing perception checks in the corner.
Right. Like she could find out if she really wanted to, but she's like, that's none of my business. But there's war happening in all the districts. Their plan is to conquer all 12 districts before taking the capital. Most of the districts are contested. District 2 is a particular problem because that's like the favored district that has like most of the military and police, which are the same thing in this world. The peacekeepers.
That's fucking San Francisco.
Yeah. That's the nice spot where all the people with guns come from. And she's basically being asked to be the Mockingjay, and they find out Cinna, her stylist, who is dead, has put together all kinds of like cool outfits, especially one special like combat ready one that makes her look like a cool badass bird. Her superhero outfit has basically prepped her and has written in her book that thing he said, I'm still betting on you.
I'm still betting on you, girl on fire.
Yeah. And what we see endlessly is this is a series where like the dead have carried the flame as far as they can and handed it to someone else.
Just like Charlie Kirk.
God damn it. Yes, I realized as soon as I said it. Yeah, we are
Al McCoy.
Just like though, like tribute that died alongside Haymitch, who inspired the pen that would be handed to Katniss from the family that's now dead. Just like, Cinna, who has died, but he did his part. And now there's this stylist team. And now there's these new people to carry it on. It is this sort of endless process of people who are carrying it forward and then dying, but then another step and another step and another step.
Well, and in particular, the part of what is carried forward is inspired directly by Katniss's experience in the first Hunger Games that she participates in, right? There's built into the military uniforms now of the District 13 soldiers, right? You have a poison pill that they call Nightlock, right? Later in the book, when you have your little fucking like BlackBerry or whatever that shows you what the capital is like, you say Nightlock, 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 and that triggers it to explode if you're in a situation you can't escape from, right? And it's one of those things that weighs heavily on Katniss now, because now because what's Nightlock, right? Nightlock was the berries that she and Peeta were going to eat to thwart the Hunger Games once and for all, right? And they got out of that, but now we're in a situation where that sacrifice has been scaled up and suddenly everybody has to experience it. And not everybody, in fact, most people are not going to be as lucky as Katniss was to have escaped that.
Yeah, someone in particular has not escaped.
Peeta, they're putting him on TV, and he's being the Capitol's like, why don't we all just get along? Yeah, he's like a collaborator, basically.
Yes. He's doing liberal moralism. He's saying, listen, guys, shooting people is bad, so we should all stop. Even throw down your guns, and I promise the Capitol will too.
As soon it's like the way that, you know, whenever like a right wing, like Charlie Kirk, or like how the Republicans instantly are like, oh, this violence, all of this violence that's happening, it's so bad.
The rhetoric's getting so heated. I mean,
yeah, it's getting so heated,
just
you guys.
getting out of control. Can't we all just learn to get along? But PETA is, of course, being tortured into this. He is going through a bad situation. Katniss will come to realize every single time she like appears in a TV spot, they're taking it out on PETA.
Yeah.
He is going through a bad time. We don't learn a ton of specifics, though we do know there is some stuff with hallucinations that gets inflicted on him that will fuck up his brain when he gets returned to them.
Yeah.
But her concern over PETA is hanging over her this entire time too, which is of course in tension with Gale because she is also into Gale. Love triangle. Actually, like you feel the love triangle in this book more than either of the two previous ones.
Right, but I think it's more effective because like you're actually getting some time with Gale instead of just her memories of him, and like the things that they each represent to her, like them kind of standing for like two sort of revolutionary drives, and then which Suzanne Collins has said herself, and then them representing different like instincts that Katniss has, which I think is interesting.
Mm-hmm. Gale says on here on page 68, if I had a weapon that could have stopped what I saw happen in 12, if I'd had a weapon that could have kept you out of the arena, I'd have used it, right? And right over here on the next page, me too, I admit, this is Katniss, but I don't know what to tell him about the aftermath of killing a person, about how they never leave you.
Yeah, because Katniss has experienced sort of like things. I think that I mean, Gale has had a lot of bad stuff happen to him, and he has witnessed, you know, death and destruction. But I think also like, but unlike a lot of the people in District 13 until the war breaks out, Katniss actually has been in the heat of battle and has killed someone and has like actually been on the front lines of this. In a way that I think that, you know, even the president who's just there like pressing buttons in a room isn't. I do like how Gale starts blowing Katniss off for his new boyfriend.
That is
his
so
like
cool.
His nerd boyfriend.
Yeah, Beatty.
Yeah,
Beatty from the last book, who's a minor character, he just does some stuff with electricity, is like down there, and he's like the super inventor. He's the, if we're gonna continue the D&D metaphor, he's the I was gonna say, what's the artificer? But yeah, he's the Q. He's inventing, he's both hacking radio waves and inventing weapons. He rules. And he's down there and he's like, oh, Gale's telling me about how we trap animals and we're going to scale that up to thousands of human beings.
Yeah, Gale is like, friendship with Katniss ended. BT is my new hunting girlfriend.
I mean, like, to give the like idea of like where Gale is at right now, there will be a point where they're trying to defeat a mountain full of people, and Gale comes up with an idea. It's like, if we block all the air vents, and they say if we block the air vents, there's only going to be one way for them to come out. And he goes, no, there won't be. Not if we blow up the way for them to come out. Like, that's the type of shit
Gale wants
on.
blood. Yeah,
that's the type of shit Gale is on. But I think it happens fairly early in the book. But to me, like the part of this book that stuck with me the most, is the first time Katniss really goes out as the Mockingjay. She goes out into the field because she cannot read lines for shit. She is once again charisma.
Yeah, she's not much of an actress.
No, not high in charisma. She goes out to the districts and visits a field hospital in the districts and has this moment where she inspires a lot of people. I mean, people are super excited.
Katniss is she's a stealth archer. She only believes in violence. Sorry.
She does. And after, you know, visiting all these people and, you know, inspiring people being very excited to see the Mockingjay, that she's alive, all of a sudden there's a capital attack. And there's this horrible battle where Katniss uses her brand new fangled arrow with explosive tips to attack these airships. And then there comes a moment where the hospital is bombed. And I do want to read from that. Oh no, I whisper as I catch sight of the hospital. What used to be the hospital. I move past the wounded, past the burning plane wrecks, fixated on the disaster ahead of me. People screaming, running about frantically, but unable to help. The bombs have collapsed the hospital and set the building on fire, effectively trapping the patients within. A group of rescuers is assembled trying to clear a path to the inside, but I already know what they'll find if the crushing debris and flames didn't get them, the smoke did. Gale's at my shoulder. The fact that he does nothing only confirms my suspicions. Miners don't abandon an accident until it's hopeless. Come on, Katniss. Haymitch says they can get a hovercraft in for us now, he tells me, but I can't seem to move. Why would they do that? Why would they target people who are already dying? I ask him. Scare others off. Prevent the wounded from seeking help, says Gale. Those people you met, they were expendable, to Snow anyway. If the Capitol wins, what will it do to have a bunch of damaged slaves? I remember all those years in the woods listening to Gale rant against the Capitol, me not paying close attention, wondering why he even bothered to dissect its motives, why thinking like our enemy would ever matter. Clearly, it could have mattered today. When Gale questioned the existence of the hospital, he was not thinking of disease, but this, because he never underestimates the cruelty of those we face. I slowly turn back to the hospital and find Cressida, that's the director of the films that they're making, standing a couple yards in front of me. Her manners unrattled. Cool even. Katniss, she says. President Snow just had them air the bombing live. Then he made an appearance to say that this was a way of sending a message to the rebels. What about you? Would you like to tell the rebels anything? Yes, I whisper. The red blinking light on one of the cameras catches my eye. I know I'm being recorded. Yes, I say more forcefully. Everyone is drawing away from me, giving me the stage. But I stay focused on the red light. I want to tell the rebels that I am alive. I'm right here in District 8 where the Capitol has just bombed a hospital full of unarmed men, women, and children. There will be no survivors. The shock I've been feeling gives way to fury. I want to tell people that if you think for 1 second the Capitol will treat us fairly if there's a ceasefire, you're deluding yourself. Because you know who they are and what they do. My hands go out automatically as if to indicate the whole horror around me. This is what they do, and we must fight back. I'm moving in toward the camera now, carried forward by my rage. President Snow says he's sending us a message. I have one for him. You can torture us and bomb us and burn our district to the ground, but do you see that? One of the cameras follows as I point to the planes burning on the roof of the warehouse across from us. The Capitol seal on a wing glows through the flames. Fire is catching. I'm shouting now, determined that he will not miss a word. And if we burn, you burn with us.
Oh my God, a Vincent Bevins reference.
Yeah. But that part stuck with me like crazy, even when I read it the first time, and it hits all the harder now.
I mean, it's like when people, like, you know, the both sides people are like, why doesn't Hamas just surrender? Why don't they just, like, you know, they could prevent all this death.
Yeah, why does Iran fire at American bases when those American bases fire at them, right?
It's because when conditions become so intolerable that this is the only alternative. And it hasn't happened here yet, but it might.
Right.
I think it's
and
well
also
on its
the
way.
fact of like you won't get a fair deal. If we surrender now, there is no fair deal. Maybe the violence goes down, maybe you have to. But like it is not going to return. There is going to be no fair negotiation.
Your enemies have proven that they cannot be trusted.
Yes.
And that part I love. I love her little speech. I also love when she does this speech later after the avalanche and a guy just shoots her. She tries to do an inspiring speech and she just gets shot. And
sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, she gives a speech later where she's like, we all have to unite, even you guys. And she points at the group of like people they're fighting and one of the guys just caps her. But, you know, sometimes she has moments. And this is a moment that makes me say Suzanne Collins is not saying with these books that it is wrong to fight back. She is not saying with these books that all violence is equal or anything like that. She acknowledges that horrible things come out of pushing back and that there is a way to fight back that is wrong. And there is a way to fight back that's not wrong. Like you have the moral right to, but do you really want to do that? Do you really want to perpetuate this? But in this moment, it is very clear that Katniss did what she needed to do and that she is communicating a message that needs to get out and that the Capitol does need to be done away with. What replaces it is a separate question.
I mean, this is skipping ahead, but like the little like epilogue at the end where she's like, now, like, she was like, looks at her children and she's like, maybe they won't have to go through what I went through. Yeah. Like, that is, I think, Suzanne Collins saying that no, it's not always going to be the same. Like, there is a difference between good things and bad things. Like, right. It's not always, you know, there is change. Things do change for the better. And I think that so I think that really strikes me in this book, and like Katniss getting domed by one of the fucking people in the crowd is one of these things. Katniss doesn't really have main character armor in this book. Like she gets hurt a lot. She like tries to do a stealth mission at the end to take out President Snow, but it doesn't work. Like, the only like main character-y thing she really does is kill Coin at the end. But like she doesn't have main character like privilege. Like, she has to train for months to be a soldier along with everybody else. Right. Which I think is really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. And I think a lesser book would have had that moment in District 2 work, right? Where they crack the nut, right? It's, I don't know, Cheyenne Mountain or whatever, right? And she's making that appeal to the humanity of the District 2 collaborator soldiers, right? And, you know, as y'all pointed out, it doesn't work. She gets capped. And, you know, it's it's Collins going, look, sometimes you can do the morally right thing, but there's a time and place where that might work better than other times and places. Sometimes these people are just going to shoot you and you have to fire and forget.
I do think it's interesting, though, that the guy that she's speaking to doesn't shoot her. It's just somebody else in the crowd. But, like, the person that she's making eye contact with, and she's like, why are you doing this? And he says, I don't know. Like, he doesn't know what he's fighting for anymore. I like that. I like that it wasn't that guy. Because, like, I think that, like, it shows that there is humanity on the other side, too. Like, that you can't forget that your foes are also humans.
There becomes there is, through this whole middle section of the book, just this grinding, horrible anxiety. There is this period where that really hits, where the people in District 13 have to go down into a bunker, even deeper into the ground to withstand a bombing. And
right, because PETA warns them about an attack.
Yeah, that's important. That PETA is supposed to be doing one of his propaganda spots, and then he yells out that there's going to be an attack, and he of course pays for it instantly. But you have this really horrible, I mean, just this section of, it's, once again, it's not this exciting scene. It's the people down in a bunker, and it's boring. And just every now and then you hear just this terrifying explosive. It says, you know, for a while you think it's over, and then it's all of a sudden you think you're all going to die. You know, it talks about that entire part. It talks about them like down in there playing with a cat, like flashing a light around to try and entertain themselves. And yeah,
Shiloh has just showed up because she sensed that we would talk about the cat, which I think now is a good time to, because like Katniss and Prim almost don't make it into lockdown because their insane cat Buttercup, that has been through like wars, almost gets caught in the bombing, right? And I find that really interesting that like Buttercup is the one constant that is maintained throughout the book. Like, she's the one, I mean, other than PETA, of course, you know, spoiler alert for a 16-year-old book, but like, other than PETA, like, Buttercup is the one thing that Katniss has more or less unscathed from the beginning of the series at the end.
Yeah, and they didn't even like each other, but now they're the only ones the other one has. Yeah. Okay, and then they get PETA back. They go on a PETA mission to get PETA, because they need more
extraction team. Yeah,
because they want to make a fucking falafel, so they need PETA.
Yeah, am I right, folks?
Yeah. It's so like naming the bread boy PETA is so stupid that it's like the coolest thing. It's like so fucking stupid. I love it.
It's just enough of a bastardization of like an existing name that you can almost imagine it as some kind of linguistic drift that just happens to be really unfortunate to our ears.
Yeah. Nominative determinism.
after she's been tormented for a while, knowing Peta's being tortured, you even have a sweet scene where when she realizes that there's a direct proportionality to what she does and what happens to Peta, where Haymitch, for I think the only time, calls her sweetie in a nice way and like hugs her. I do
love that Haymitch kind of continues to be a piece of shit. Like,
yes.
When he like kinkily threatens to like put her into a chastity belt for her head.
Yeah, Haymitch, like, for the most part in this book, does not become like less shitty. He has moments where he's like, okay, he like is the only one who understands her. Like this one, it's the only time he ever calls her sweetie, I think, ever, in a way where it's not like just fuck you. But like he's basically her handler in this book, and they're just like, whenever they can't get her to work, they're like, Haymitch, just like beat the shit out of Katniss for us, please. She's the like, and through that collaboration, they managed to get Peta back, but Peta's
It's so
Peta's
funny that you use the word handler in this context. I'm sorry. We haven't read Warhound yet, but we will.
Not familiar.
Later when she like dumps water on him when he's like passed out, he's like, "What? You want to talk about boys?" And she gets really mad at him.
He's so cool.
And he's like, "I'm sorry. That was mean." But yeah, they get Peta back.
Peta's brain broken.
And it's like, you've heard of nice Peta. Now get ready for evil Peta.
Evil Peta be like, I hate Katniss. This is crazy.
Yeah.
It's like,
I love evil Peta.
Mm-hmm.
It's like those memes where they would do like the negative of somebody, where it'd be like, evil Miyazaki be like, the door does open from this side. It's Peta though.
In Soviet Russia, Peta is evil. Yeah.
Yes.
Evil
exactly.
workers lit be like players dark.
Peta chokes her ass, and not in a fun way.
Yeah.
Again, she is not a bottom. He does not appreciate being choked.
He goes straight for the trachea, not the sides of her throat.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, Peta has basically been like, Snow is like, I know how to fuck with her even more. I'm gonna like fuck up Peta. What are our thoughts on evil Peta? I know you like evil Peta, Aisha. You just like
I mean, like, so the thing that I love about it is that like the idea of the person who loves you suddenly seeing you the way you see yourself is so horrifying. Like, all of the stuff he says about her is, she's like, he's right, because she hates herself and she blames herself for everything. And he has like now fallen out of love with her, and he's like, well, you're rude, you're not even that pretty, like, you're not nice, why was I so in love with you? And she's like, he's got me there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, he's dosed with it's some kind of like conditioning where he's like dosed with tracker jacker venom, and so he has these horrific hallucinations whenever he's exposed to stuff that's like about her, right? And that's there is that's like he sees her the way that that she sees her. You're absolutely right about that, but also like it calls into question like what I think that also calls into question like what Katniss has been experiencing this whole time, right? It's like, oh, like what if the only thing that was real was like when I was in the heat of the moment, when I was in full survival mode, when I was thrown off by the tracker jacker venom, when I saw the world for all the horror that is suffused through it. Now normalcy is suddenly suspect, right? Because anything could be lurking beneath it.
Right.
I was gonna say, and Gale is mad. Not because he's upset about Peta being hurt, but he's like, damn it, Katniss is attracted to broken, sad men. I can never be more broken and sad than Peta is. You literally have a moment where when Gale is super upset, Katniss kisses him and he goes, I knew you'd kiss me. She says, how? And he says, because I'm in pain. That's the only way I get your attention. It's so edgy. And you remember they're like 18. You remember they're 18 in this moment, but then he says, I'll never be able to compete with that, looking at Peta. And she goes, you're right. Because he is so sad and broken. And she just loves a pathetic man more than anything. She just like me for real.
Well, because it's a project, right? It's something that she can attend to and that can heal under her hands rather than be destroyed, right?
Right. She's just not particularly good at healing anything.
Yeah. Also, Finnick is there being insane also. Mm-hmm. And then when she's like, they're gonna get Peta and Annie back, he literally tears all of his clothes off and he's like, okay, dick out, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, Finnick, the prophecy has been fulfilled in this book. The last episode, we laughed at the meme that said Finnick was the funny guy, but he's pretty funny in this book.
Mhm.
He's quite funny.
We also learned that he's been like sexually abused for decades,
Yeah.
or however long he's been alive, ever since he's been a victor by President Snow's
Right,
henchmen.
Snow pimps him out.
Yeah, Finnick is just kind of a side character in this book for sort of like bits of levity and him being like, hey, Katniss, I'm insane too. Here's like one of my coping mechanisms. I fiddle with a piece of rope.
Yeah.
I sure
have
hope
a
I
hot,
don't.
insane wife.
Yeah, my wife is hot. She stares off into the distance. Don't worry about it. She's fine. We're gonna get married. Peta's gonna make the little icing on it.
Yeah,
it's gonna
to
be
sort of,
sweet.
and to sort of recover from his trauma, right? He has a set of like sort of guidelines he has to follow to reintegrate into District 13 society. Of course, the activity of like tying knots is one of them. Google Finnick knotting Rule 34 for more.
No, you don't. No, that's not. That's okay. He does get a cool trident that when he throws it, he can like resummon it like Thor's hammer.
Yes, it
Yeah,
has
it's like
returning.
a returning pike.
Yeah, it really helps him in the battle.
Yeah. He definitely uses it.
Yeah, he like
more
pulls
than
it out,
once.
and then the monsters are like, "We're gonna eat you, though." And
Yeah.
Katniss is like, "Not if I blow him up first." Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but
Yeah.
Finnick is like, I don't have a lot to say about Finnick in this book. He's just like a guy that gives color to the situation and is a lot of fun every time he's on screen. And like at one point, there is like the very dour guard is just like, damn, that awoke something in me when he sees
Yeah.
Finnick with his dick out, and that's what I have to say about Finnick.
Yeah. Well, I think
Can I- I'm
Finnick
sorry,
is
really-
interesting in that he like the way that he lets us see like the way that the victors live and sort of like what was going to be waiting for Katniss and Peeta if they didn't do this. If they hadn't started this, like the victors are like just pieces of meat for the Capitol to use.
I find it.
Yeah,
I find it
PETA would be sucking Caesar Flickerman's dick. Like,
That's true.
Absolutely.
One. Yes.
I find it really interesting that like Finnick dealt in secrets, right? That was his whole thing in Catching Fire. Like he'd slept with everybody, so he had all kinds of scoops, right? And that becomes a weapon toward the end of the book. Like even I can't remember if this is before or after he gets eaten by the lizard people, right? But there's all kinds of propos that District 13 runs that's like, oh yeah, this person is an arsonist, this person's a pedophile, this person's been sleeping with that person's been embezzling from that person, right? And like it's one of those things, where like it's very similarly to Katniss, right? If you get caught up in this, right, the best you can hope for is to have your trauma turned into a weapon that can maybe blow it up, right?
Right. Finnick's bussy is full of secrets.
It is. Finnick is Rhaenyra's side hoe from House of the Dragon season 2.
Oh, yeah.
basically. That's who Finnick is.
Rhaenyra has like 6 side hoes.
Yeah, we're so happy for her.
I know.
Okay, so Katniss, of course, going through it for a long time. Very well written, but not that interesting for us to talk about. Read the book if you're interested in Katniss going through it. She goes through it. She does some drugs. She does some sad. She gets yelled at by Haymitch. She hangs out with Joanna Mason, who's a horrible influence on her. Joanna Mason is your evil lesbian friend. Lenore, you're smiling when I talk about Joanna Mason.
Yeah.
Stop smiling. She's a bad
Sounds
influence.
hot.
No, Aisha, Lenore, we cannot be hanging out with Joanna Mason. She's going to cause
You
problems.
shouldn't have made a podcast with lesbians then.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, they were like, this is a shaved head woman with emotional issues who's really competent with a knife and is a drug addiction.
If you let the evil
unfortunately.
lesbian survive, she just levels up.
Yeah.
She made it out of torture and now she's even more normal. And she will basically disappear from the book until it's time to reappear, say, yes, I support murdering children, and never show up in the book again.
Well, it's the last time they'll do it.
Yes. But Katniss recovers from her horrors enough to, after getting shot, after getting beaten by Peeta, after getting emotionally manipulated by Gale, she recovers from it all enough to go through training, mostly with children at first, for the final battle at the Capitol, because all the districts have fallen and we're now districts versus Capitol. It occurs to me that they could have just like kind of besieged the Capitol, but I guess they're worried the Capitol is going to launch nukes. Is kind of they're worried they're going to do what's it called, like the Gideon
Mutually assured
protocol. Or
destruction.
whatever
I
it's called.
literally think the Capital section at the end is because her publisher was like, where are the games? Where's the Hunger Games part of the Hunger Games book?
We need to make a
You
game
gotta
based
put
on
this.
this.
Right.
You gotta put the stupid fucking, like, where are the lizard people? Where's the reign of knives?
There has been nary a tracker jacker. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
They do show up toward the end. They got caught in another trap.
Yeah, unfortunately, like the third act of this book, aside from the like secret emotional third act that happens after the third act, is kind of whatever for me. It's
there's
there's
a lot
moments that
of
really work, and then there's a lot of like action that's kind of like, okay, well, like I do appreciate the action is for fucking nothing.
yeah.
If she had killed President Snow by infiltrating the palace, I would have been like, that's stupid as hell. I do love that she goes through a lot of action, and it's like, of course she didn't get into President Snow's palace. Like, what are you talking about?
I like
do
the
appreciate
cat
that.
girl.
I do like the cat girl.
Special bonus cat girl.
Yeah, Tigress the cat girl. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess to kind of just say what happens overall, Katniss gets put on a special propaganda squad that President Coin also assigns PETA to, and she's like, oh, she's trying to get my ass killed. She wants PETA to just like choke me out in an alley somewhere.
And in fairness, so does
Fortunately,
Katniss.
oh yeah. And fortunately, they're through, the squad kind of is helping PETA out. There's this pretty effective thing that they do, real or not real. It's a game they play where PETA's like, okay, real, District 12 is gone. They're like, okay, yeah, that's real. And he's like, real. Katniss turned into a dragon and burned it all herself. And they're like, okay, so that's not real, PETA. It's more or less what the game is like.
They make it a game. Yeah, they're like, it's a fun game. She calls it a game, which I'm like, I don't know if that's a game, Katniss, but you kind of have a weird idea of what a game is, I guess.
I guess if you
and
live in this world, that's like a pretty non-violent game, actually.
I think as well, like it does come from, there is an element of her, deprivation in District 12 that this comes from, right? You have to kind of make your own fun if there's nothing around that you can really lose yourself.
Yeah, they don't
in.
have
The
video games.
Yeah, exactly. The Capitol, who knows what kind of insane like VR the Capitol has? They can
Right.
do whatever.
This is a more exciting version of the game Katniss played as a child, which was Will Mom Get Out of Bed This Morning?
Yeah.
That was one of her favorite games.
So, yeah, then they go to the sewers and run around, and then Finnick just gets absolutely, like, decimated by a lizard man in the most unceremonious way, which I think is great. Like, he's not like, go, leave me. He doesn't,
I'm gonna
like,
hold the line. No,
right, he doesn't hold the line. He literally just is the last person up, and he gets killed. And
in fact, there's an argument to be made that if Katniss had climbed the ladder a little faster and hadn't kept looking back, he probably might have made it out.
yeah,
It doesn't dwell on it, but it's there.
right. Well, I mean, Katniss is constantly thinking, like, I am getting all these people around me killed. And she's probably right.
Yeah.
Because she is
Yeah.
a symbol, and you can't let symbols die.
Yeah.
She's
it's
kind
like
of been chosen as the person that they have to protect.
Yeah.
They do the thing where they do over and over. I do like that the Capitol over and over announces, we have killed the Mockingjay. And then like 5 hours later, they have to be like, okay.
Well, it's like
so the
Trump
Mockingjay
constantly
might
being
be
like,
alive.
is like, Iran has fallen.
Mhm,
Like,
mhm. The war is
Iran is
complete,
fallen.
mission
However-
accomplished, COVID is over, like all that
Yeah.
shit. There's no shortage of examples.
now
At
watch
the
this
time of-
drive.
At the time of recording today, he tweeted the so-called Strait of Hormuz, and he spelled the Strait of Hormuz STRAIGHT of Hormuz.
Clocked
He said perhaps we should abandon the so-called Strait of Hormuz, which we don't even use. That's really good.
Yeah, forget the Strait of Hormuz. Let's get the gay of Hormuz. Am I right, brothers?
Yeah, I was looking at it, and it was actually quite curved.
There is one moment which I think is impactful in that they're running away. They're like half dead. Gale is like bleeding out, and a random civilian walks out of her house, and Katniss just shoots her in the head.
Yeah, Katniss just domes her.
Yeah.
And it is like admittedly like the civilian probably was about to like yell like, hey, there's people
Right.
here. Like,
but it
you
is
know,
it kind of like it shows that like you can have all of the ideals in the world, but when you are on the ground in the thick of it, that kind of stops mattering.
no, yeah,
Like,
you will kill a civilian. Like that woman was in her apartment. She had not said anything. It's very likely she would have been a threat, but we don't know that she would have been a threat, and we will never find out.
right.
Um,
I like that moment, obviously, like not because I like to kill civilians, but because I think that it is like, no, Katniss is not a hero.
right.
She kind of isn't. She's just a survivor.
Yeah, no, I like that Katniss isn't, she's, as we've said repeatedly throughout this series, right? She's not a particularly likable person. She's not a particularly, she has empathy certainly, but but there are many moments where she has the option to, spare somebody and doesn't, necessarily so mostly.
Right.
There are, I would say, 2 heroes I can think of in the Hunger Games, unambiguous heroes. It's Rue and Prim. Are
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
there are like characters that are just pretty much beyond reproach. They are virtuous, whatever. They are people that like do not hurt people. They're just doing their best to survive, and they're sweet, and they want like good things to happen, and they get fucking killed by this world.
I think
Which
that you could
completely
even
fair.
argue that PETA is heroic,
Yeah,
in a way that Katniss is not. Because
Sure.
he is the whole time, he's like, you have to kill me, get rid of me. I am going to fuck everything up. And Katniss won't do it because Katniss is like, I cannot live without you.
Yeah.
I cannot lose you too.
I saw some good posts online of people being like screenshotting some like just parts from this book where Katniss is like, "Don't kill yourself," and he's like, "I have to go on." It's like your worst relationship in high school. Eli. But we've referenced it a couple times. They find a cat girl and she takes care of them for a little while.
I love a surprise cat girl in the last 50 pages.
I do
Oh,
like
boy, so do I.
Katniss is like, this is a woman that she probably got one too many surgeries and now is considered horrific to all of society. And it's like, that cat girl is fucking like twice a day, 24. Like that cat girl has a stable of hoes.
Yeah,
This is how you know that Katniss is heterosexual.
Yes. Like you have people in the Capitol with like green skin. You have people with like, gold flakes like embedded in their skin or whatever. Like there's all manner of like fashion run amok to the point of grotesquerie. Like why would a cat lady be particularly weird?
Katniss is a heterosexual woman because she's like, there's 2 types of being hot as a man: blonde and looks like my cousin.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the 2 kinds of heterosexual women.
But yeah, the cat lady helps them. We don't know much about her. This is yet another example of Katniss kind of infers. She thinks that this was maybe a stylist in the games who got pushed out for one reason.
No,
or
I think
another.
she says she remembers seeing her. I think she knows she was in the games.
And I think that's another interesting example of like yet another person who is this kind of small part of this greater whole who, I said it earlier, carries the flame, puts her hands on this great weight to kind of push it forward, to move the gear just another inch. This another essential part, another little resentment that's been held for years for whatever reason that will end up paying off. Which is what revolutions are made of. And of course, we now come to this final moment where Katniss has to fight her way towards the White House, essentially, towards the President Snow's mansion. And it's already pretty much too late. Like the rebels have already broken through. Like the war's pretty much over. And you have this part that I hated as a kid that now I completely understand. We sprint across the intersection. By the time we reach the next block, it no longer matters who we are, who anyone is, because no one is looking at faces. The rebels are here all right, pouring out onto the avenue, taking cover in doorways, behind vehicles, guns blazing, hoarse voices shouting commands as they prepare to meet an army of peacekeepers marching towards us. Caught in the crossfire are the refugees, unarmed, disoriented, and many wounded. A pod's activated ahead of us, releasing a gush of steam that parboils everyone in the path, leaving the victims intestine pink and very dead. After that, what sense of order there was unravels as the remaining curly cubes of steam intertwine with the snow. Visibility extends to the end of my barrel. Peacekeeper, rebel, citizen, who knows? Everything that moves is a target. People shoot reflexively, and I'm no exception. Heart pounding, adrenaline burning through me. Everyone is my enemy except Gale, my hunting partner, the one person who has my back. There's nothing to do but move forward, killing whoever comes into our path. And I remember being a kid being like, oh, so Katniss is just turned insane now. And now I'm like, and I was like, that seems like whatever, a cop out. I thought it was like too gratuitous. And now I'm like, no, that's like what would happen. Like you're just people are around you. She's running around. And again, it's another example of she's not a hero. She's trying to make it another step. And the only thing that she's got is Gale right next to her. She's seeing him as her hunting partner. And she's reverting to this state of basically humans as like prey. Like she's just got to shoot her way through. Like she's using that old like framework to get through. And of course it doesn't matter because she's going to get to the front and the battle's over anyway, except for one last double tap strike.
Right.
Yeah, it's a double tap strike on the. It's mentioned earlier that the Capitol is enforcing quartering of refugees in people's homes. President Snow himself has said, "Okay, I'm opening up a wing of my mansion to people who want to shelter here." Those people are the Capitol's children. Like it's just a bunch of kids within the walls of the president's mansion, and those kids are going down.
Yeah. I mean, also, like, we joked about it in the opening, but, like, Gale invents double tapping. Him and BT do.
Yeah, Gale didn't think up this particular strike necessarily, but he invented the bombs, the idea, the tactic that gets used here, which is a capital plane appears. It drops what looks to be aid. The aid explodes. Medics rush in. And then the aid explodes. A bigger explosion happens. And amongst that is Prim, who is a nurse, Katniss' sister. Her shirt is not tucked in properly, so there's the ducktail, just like from the very beginning. They make eye contact, and Prim gets fucking like obliterated by this strike that ends the war that was already pretty much over, but fully solidifies like, okay, there is no further resistance. This is it. Because it makes everyone hate the Capitol. It makes everyone so afraid. There's so much terror that it's just done. And Aisha, you compared this earlier to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I wonder if you would speak on that a little bit.
Well, I mean, like in the history books and stuff, people will be, it says like, oh, this was necessary to prevent further loss of life. But if you actually like look at what was actually going on, the war was basically over. Like right. Germany had surrendered, Italy had surrendered. That is just a cope. It was to prove our might, basically.
Right. It was a solidification. There was already negotiations for surrender. It was a question of whether it was going to be an unconditional surrender or whether there was going to be like certain stuff about like the emperor being allowed to maintain in his position. Like it was that type of shit. And it was like full victory.
In the Hunger Games, like it's never completely clear what side did that strike. I'm pretty much convinced it was the rebels. I think it was Coin, like it. Probably.
And for Katniss's perspective, it certainly, Katniss is certainly certain.
And I fully believe that it was like, I think it was Gale.
Mm-hmm. Gale had talked about this idea. Now, did he want Prim specifically to die? No. But he didn't think about who was going to die, or her Coin didn't think about who was going to die. Whoever it was this idea of like, this really will end this shit. And, you know, utilitarian logic.
It does.
You know, it does. Like, even the Capitol soldiers are like, okay, fuck this noise. You know, they're done. And Katniss gets shredded, by this fire. And she has another moment that's very similar to following book one, where she feels very disembodied. She feels like she doesn't have control of herself. She's getting work done on her. It says, she's having kind of visions of stuff. And I just wanted to read this because it's another like body moment where, she's recovering from the death of Prim and her own flesh. And it says, I find myself back in my room, unsure whether I was driven by the need for morphling. It's like a morphine, or whether Haymitch ferreted me out. I eat the food, take the medicine, and required to bathe. It's not the water I mind, but the mirror that reflects my naked fire mutt body. The skin grafts still retain a newborn baby pinkness. The skin, deemed damaged but salvageable, looks red, hot, and melted in places. Patches of my former self gleam white and pale. I'm a bizarre patchwork quilt of skin. Parts of my hair were singed off completely. The rest has been chopped off at odd lengths. Katniss Everdeen, the girl who was on fire. I wouldn't much care except the sight of my body brings back the memory of the pain and why I was in pain and what happened just before the pain started and how I watched my little sister become a human torch. Closing my eyes doesn't help. Fire burns brighter in darkness.
God.
Also, it's like the inversion of what happened to her at the end of the first book when they
Right.
completely obliterated all of her scars.
Yes.
Mhm.
She's a new patchwork of scars. And like there's new skin being grafted onto her. They're trying to replicate the process, right? And it like, but it is so grotesque and it is painful both emotionally and physically. And this is something that, like, you know, not to harp on the movie because I'm not that interested in the movie, but this is something that if you wanted to do it right, you have to depict. You have to have this like very physical, her hair, she has had a physical toll. And no offense to Jennifer Lawrence, but Jennifer Lawrence continues to look gorgeous in every single scene and never looks anything less than smudged ever.
Really?
And like really, like, I mean, maybe she gets a cut or whatever, but like
I've only seen
never
part
have
one. God, that's so disappointing.
you never have anything like this. And it's part of what makes this work is it's like, this is nasty. This is uncomfortable. Like there is no glamour in this whatsoever.
No.
And it's not, there's no glamour in this in some grim dark and all of this was for nothing way. Like, no, it's good. The Capitol lost. That had to happen. That is historically progressive. And yet we can sit and be horrified by what has occurred. And the fact that this is happening, this tension is held so perfectly. God, like, this is so impressive that this works.
This is an incredible book. Actually, like the tension of revolution in this, I think I've only ever seen it depicted in art this well in one other thing, and it was season 1 of Andor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I kept thinking about like Luthen Rael's speech when he says, what does he say? I burn my decency for someone else's future.
And, you know, you have this moment here where Katniss ends up meeting with President Snow. You know, he's soon to be executed.
This guy is such a weird creep. He's like a weird little rose pervert.
Yeah, he's got roses everywhere and he's doing his thing and he's doing his little giggles. And he's like, you know, he gives a whole, my failure was being so slow to grasp Coin's plan to let the capital and districts destroy one another.
In particular, right? You know, his whole, because the whole reason of the rose thing is that, like, yeah, like poison was his stock in trade. Like he's
got Palpatine energy.
Yes, exactly. And like he had people assassinated, and God, now I'm thinking somehow Snow returned. Fuck that movie.
That's the sequel,
well, he has his own book.
Oh, God, that's true.
Which I'm kind of interested to read now because it sounds like it would be bad, but I don't know. I trust Suzanne Collins with my life.
I have a theory, and maybe that book will vindicate it, right? That he is as much of a dramatic bitch as Anakin Skywalker is in the novelization of Star Wars 3, right? Where he's, you know, given all the one-liners as he massacres the leaders of the Confederacy, right? You know, like, because medically speaking, right, the Capitol is capable of essentially magic, right? It can completely erase the scars on Katniss, you know, it can restore just about anything, her hearing and whatnot. Like, the whole reason for his roses is that, okay, at one point he drank from a poisoned cup to sort of cover his tracks about the person who was actually the subject of the poison. And he has these
the shit from Princess Bride,
yeah, right. And he has these like bleeding mouth sores that just like an eternal HSV1 flare up or whatever that like he masks with the scent of like roses, right? And you didn't need that. Like the Capitol has shit for that. Like he's just being weird for the sake of being weird.
This is a guy that instead of dropping one more bomb on District 13 during their battle, had them drop a shipment of roses to fuck with Katniss.
This guy is like if Severus Snape was a diva.
Yeah. More of a diva, maybe.
Yeah, he's already kind of a diva.
And like he basically tells Katniss whether or not, you know, and we're kind of on the record saying, yeah, we definitely buy it. That wasn't me. If I had one more plane, I would have gotten away with it. Like, no, I didn't drop that bomb. Like that.
Also,
was
there's
President
kind of no reason for him to lie to her about it at this point.
Right, like he would probably just flex on her that he'd killed her sister.
Right, quite apart from them having agreed never to lie to each other. Right, it's he's conniving, he's calculating, like he has the capacity for extreme cruelty, but it's for a purpose, right? It's to break down this specific enemy that he has. He's not just gonna light a bunch of kids on fire.
He's like, you know me, I mean, like, I kill children all the time. Like, I don't have a problem with it. I would fucking tell you if I did it. Like, I invented the machine that kills children instantly. Like,
right, exactly. It's that thing of where that, like, yeah, you know, I sacrifice these children for like this ultimate power. Like, it would be weird if I just sacrificed them for nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, I have some pride in my child killing work.
Yeah.
And speaking of child killing, President Coin brings together the victors, the surviving Hunger Games folks, and is like, okay, guys, how do y'all feel about having one more Hunger Games with the Capitol's children? Y'all are going to have to vote on this. And
we will tell people that you voted on it.
But
yes.
well, not who specifically did, but just that, okay, the victors came together and collectively decided. Some were for, some were against, but ultimately this is how it shook out.
And PETA is like, what the fuck? No. And Annie, Finnick's wife, is like, no. And I think Beatty is like, no, that's not good. Mm-hmm. And then
Joanna's all for it.
Joanna is like, I love when children die. Yeah,
because Joanna's a fucking psycho.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then Anobria, she's not really important, but she's here, and she's like, yeah, sure, kill children. And then it's down to Katniss and Haymitch, and Katniss, so people feel strongly about this, and I was like looking back, like I was trying to find like old shit that I know I had like written notes. I had like old notes somewhere. I couldn't find them exactly, but I kind of remember what I was writing about when I was a kid, when I would take notes on books. And I remember like debating with myself whether Katniss did this on purpose, because I remember when I read this at first, I was like, why would Katniss want to kill the kids? I think though, now that I reread it, I'm pretty sure Katniss just said yes to this so she could win Coin's trust, so she could definitely be there to shoot Coin with an arrow, right?
Yes, I think so. I think so because of that thought she has with Haymitch. Mm-hmm. She's like, are we the same? Is he going to understand what I'm doing? Do we still have this connection that we had before? I don't think she would have that thought if she wasn't trying to do something.
Yeah, having that thought aside from that would just be like, is he catching my child killing vibe?
Yeah, yes. Right. Which like also like I don't think Haymitch, like the thing that like in her grief, I could believe that Katniss would be like, yeah, fucking kill them. I don't think Haymitch ever would. Because Haymitch is he's like Katniss. He hates himself. Like, he doesn't lash out at other people. He lashes out at himself. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that Haymitch would ever agree to this unless he, had a plan with her.
I can see the case that y'all are making. I think it's plausible. I also think, I don't know, maybe this is some creative reading, but like I also think that Katniss trusts Haymitch to trust her, and I don't know that it makes a difference which way she votes to whether or not she's going to be in there executing President Snow purportedly, because like that deal has already been made with Coin is the thing, right? I personally come down on the side of like, I believe she's damaged enough to believe that, okay, we're going to do this one more time, right?
Yeah. Well, regardless, she gets to execute Snow, and she pulls back the bow, and in front of everyone on live TV, she kills President Coin.
Mm-hmm. Which I think is her one big heroic act in this book.
Yeah, it's her one moment of real agency, really, because like everything else, she's kind of choosing how she does other things, but like,
and like all of her moments of agency, it's like spur of the moment, right? Because up until the very, very end, she isn't even really sure that Snow is telling the truth or not. She makes a decision, sure. She comes down on you. Oh, Miss Everdeen, I thought we'd agreed not to lie to each other, right? He's right. But she's not 100%.
Right. But she sees, like, she sacrifices what she thinks is her own life because she's like, obviously they're gonna fucking kill me after this, which she always thinks, because Katniss has never seen an opportunity to commit suicide that she hasn't taken. But she sacrifices herself to prevent what she sees as another rising tyrant. And I think that she's correct. Like, I think she did the right thing because, like, it's not that, like, I don't think that this represents the fact that humanity is doomed to repeat its sins. I think that this, like I said, this is saying that without constant pressure and constant vigilance, it is very easy to repeat a cycle of violence.
Yes.
It is very easy to just hurt the people that hurt you, and it takes a lot of strength not to.
Right. I think if this book were going for the, okay, like, revolution is ontologically bad, right, there would be some sort of rationale that Coin builds up, that the ruling class of District 13 builds up, that is very, very nakedly shown to be just a veneer on what they actually want, right? And there's not. Katniss doesn't have access to it. We don't have access to it. For all we know, District 13 rebelling is like District 2 rebelling, right? They're the people who want to be on top. The why of it doesn't really matter.
If that was what she was trying to say, I don't think the epilogue would have been there. The child having epilogue. And unlike Harry Potter, this epilogue is short and it works on a number of levels, instead of just being like, everything is the same, all is well.
It would be weird if she was... It was weird when she was like, hey, Mitch Flickerman Coin, you were named after...
You're named after two of the bravest people.
Yeah.
What happens to Caesar Flickerman? I'm disappointed we don't get to see his end.
He got blown up in the bombing. I don't know. He wandered into it.
He and Peeta start fucking each other.
Yeah, he wandered into the scorpion pit or some shit. I don't know. The lizards got his ass. Who do you think was the lizards?
Who do you think gave Katniss the skin?
It's Caesar Flickerman's skin. I like that Effie Trinket is just here. She's just like, what's up? I'm Effie Trinket. I'm back. And then she's gone.
Yeah.
Effie is back. That was really funny.
The movie puts Effie in District 13 and like, which is like fine, I guess. And she doesn't have any makeup, which is funny to see.
Yeah, I kind of wish Effie had been there. I liked Effie.
Yeah, I don't know what she would have done, but you could have found something to do with her.
She could have been with the stylists, I feel like.
Yeah, with the stylists or keeping people on schedule. She could have been like, Katniss, get through this hospital very quickly. And she's like mad at Katniss, mad at her, but because she left on time, she doesn't get blown up. Speaking of the hospital, I think it's interesting. The new president, it's glossed over very quickly, is Commander Paler. Commander Paler shows up twice in this book. Commander Paler, the first time, is at the hospital, is the rebel commander from District 8, from the districts, who is like meets with Katniss like in the field and is there at the hospital and is fighting alongside them. So there's that. One, Commander Paler is someone who has actually seen action in this war personally. Two, you see Commander Paler again when Katniss is trying to go see President Snow, some of the guards, and it notes the guards aren't District 13. They're true rebels, she says. They're wearing kind of mismatched clothing. And Commander Paler says, no, let her through. She has the right. And you see there's like kind of factions there because they defer to her rather than the orders of Coin. So do we know Paler's good? Not necessarily, but Paler is also of the districts, has like been in this, like lived not in this like sealed off world like District 13 has, but has actually kind of like lived the struggle. And so there is a real possibility that this is like a better alternative. We don't know, but certainly there's no Hunger Games that's happening in the epilogue.
Also, I think like the implication of the person that you need to win a revolution is not the person that you necessarily want ruling your new world. So maybe they needed a President Coin to win, but a President Coin shouldn't be in charge.
You need a good guy with a President Snow to stop a bad guy with a President Snow.
Yeah, exactly. Literally.
Well, there is something
right.
interesting too. Like if you look at like a lot of revolutions in history, they have like multiple phases a lot of times. I mean, like literally, I mean, like famous, the 1917 like February Revolution in Russia was followed up by the October Revolution, like things like that. Because the people who overthrew the government then were like, yeah, we're gonna keep doing World War I, and everyone's like, well, fuck that, we're gonna do another one because that's like the whole reason we revolted, right?
Yeah.
That is the kind of thing that can happen. But yeah, and we basically Katniss gets off on an insanity plea. I mean, she doesn't plead it. Like Plutarch Heavensbee, who is the new Minister of Communications, says like, yeah, like let her off. She's crazy, and everybody's like, yeah, she definitely is. She's like in a room singing right now or some shit.
I mean, she is. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Katniss keeps being like, everyone keeps saying I'm crazy. And I'm like, girl, you are very unstable. Like, you are doing things because you're unstable. I know that it doesn't feel that way, but you are.
Right.
I mean, she goes nonverbal for weeks. And then after that, like, when she's in a room, like tries to starve herself and tries to kill herself with like a morphine overdose.
Yeah.
And then like just lays in bed and looks at the ceiling for 3 days. And
it's
then
not
just starts
her first
singing.
nonverbal period in the book either. Like there's a whole bit like after the war where she's so traumatized by seeing her sister, get Hiroshima, right? And the first time that she speaks is when she sees President Snow, right?
Yeah.
And like it's very much a like her singing here is her. I think it's her like body, like her psyche, like refusing to die, right? It's you're holding your breath, and then at a certain point, your body forces you to start breathing again, right? And that's because she's, as y'all said, like she's not taking her meds, she's not eating, and that's when she defaults to the singing. That's when she defaults to, okay, like I have this thing with verses, I have this thing with a finite runtime that like, I can mark time this way, right? So I can, so it's just not a constant morass of undelineated misery.
Right.
I like that she's like, these stupid doctors think that I'm sick. I've just chosen not to speak for 6 weeks.
Yeah. And then she gets sent back to District 12 as long, and like Haymitch has to like be her keeper, I guess.
Haymitch and Greasy Say, who's managed to make it through all of this.
Yeah. Haymitch just comes back, and I also like Haymitch is like still an alcoholic, still the same sort of like, he doesn't miraculously like get better. He's just probably worse than ever, honestly.
He accomplished more than he could have ever hoped to. He saw the end of the Hunger Games. I'm sure that's gratifying, and he does come around sometimes, but like, yeah.
I'm really excited to actually read his book, the book about him.
Sunrise on the Reaping.
Suzanne Collins, come on the podcast.
Yeah, for real.
Long shot, but like, I'll give it a shot. I'll send her an email. Why not?
Yeah.
This ending is basically Gale does not come back. Her last interaction with Gale, she's like, was it your bombs that did it? And he was like, does it matter if it was my bombs that did it? You're going to hold it against me regardless, which is like, okay, so it was his bombs that did it. But even if it wasn't, it doesn't matter, right? Like her relationship with Gale is pretty much permanently severed. Certainly any romantic relationship or, partnership that they could have. Gale, we find, gets like a good job in District 2. Someone throws out, I see him on TV sometimes, hence my bit at the beginning that I came up with. Maybe he's the new Caesar Flickerman. Maybe who knows what he's up to. He's doing something important.
The mom's over in District 4. She's like the queen of the hospitals now.
Yeah, the mom is doing hospital work. Again, the mom doesn't come home. Katniss has basically been exiled here to be like, okay, you stay here. Plutarch Heavensbee is like, would you like to come on my singing show? That part's crazy.
It's the Masked Singer.
Would you like to come on the Masks?
That guy actually, like, I know that he's like silly, but he really does retain revolutionary optimism. I'll say that about him.
He's like immediately like, yeah, the Masked Singer. They're like, who could this giant Mockingjay be on the Masked Singer? And then it's Gale. No, because she couldn't come on. PETA plants a bunch of primroses around their houses, and she ends up with PETA, and PETA is never the same either. She has to do the real or not real with him sometimes. They like work on like basically a book that's a history of the people close to them who have died. It ends up mostly being a history of tributes. We don't know if that's just for them or maybe maybe that'll be more broadly distributed, and that'll be an important artistic artifact
History
in
book,
Pan
yeah.
Am. They don't seem to care, but
Well, and indeed, like it's a, given all the misery that we've trudged through, right? It's, I think, a really effective optimistic turn here, right? Because earlier in the book, like what did we mention, right? Gail's like, yeah, she's gonna pick the one of us that she needs to survive, right? And in a sense, that's true, but there's also a dimension to that is genuinely born of love. I have on page 388 right here. Peeta and I grow back together. There are still moments when he clutches the back of a chair and hangs on until the flashbacks are over. I wake screaming from nightmares of mutts and lost children, but his arms are there to comfort me, and eventually his lips. On the night I feel that thing again, the hunger that overtook me on the beach, I know this would have happened anyway. That what I need to survive is not Gail's fire, kindled with rage and hatred. I have plenty of fire myself. What I need is the dandelion in the spring. The bright yellow that means rebirth instead of destruction, the promise that life can go on no matter how bad our losses, that it can be good again, and only Peeta can give me that. So after, when he whispers, "You love me, real or not real," I tell him real.
She needs a quirked up white boy who makes cakes.
Goated with all kinds of sauce.
He's doing icing. He's planting flowers. You can beat him up. It's great. And then we get an epilogue that is the thing that she said she always wasn't going to do. She has children. And the reason she's always said she's not going to have children is a fear of they would have to be in the games. They would have to face what she has faced. And what we don't know much about this world, but we know that she is not scared of that anymore in the same way. She has those reflexive fears. She says carrying the child, she had fears for them. She says that one day she's going to have to tell her children, you're playing on a graveyard when they go out and they run in the grass of District 12. The kids are learning about it in school. So there is some kind of civil society,
Yeah.
We don't know everything about it, but it says at the very end, I'll tell them how I survive it. I'll tell them that on bad mornings, it feels impossible to take pleasure in anything because I'm afraid it could be taken away. That's when I make a list in my head of every act of goodness I've seen someone do. It's like a game, repetitive, even a little tedious after more than 20 years, but there are much worse games to play. And that's how it's resolved. I think it's great that even 15 years later, Katniss is not or 20 years or whatever, is not perfect. She's not healed. She's as probably good as she could be expected to be. And that is, you don't see this type of shit from YA. You just don't.
No.
Very
You don't
often.
see this type of shit in adult fantasy.
Almost
sci-fi.
anything. In fucking, it's just not the kind of thing that you tend to see, this ambiguous, but no, clearly hopeful, if not for Katniss being happy for the next generation type of thing. It nails it.
Right. I mean, it's revolutionary optimism. It's seeing your movement, your people, your community get crushed again and again and again. Maybe you make some gains here. Maybe they even stick for a few years, and eventually they get rolled back because class struggle is never ending, right? I mean, Jacob, you and I had that conversation with that one comrade who was like, I thought growing up during the Vietnam War that we'd be on the barricades doing this, that it'd be the big time, and now it falls to us. It'll probably fall to the next generation, right? And there is a latent terror that is inherent in that realization, that nothing is ever over, right? And all you can do is reassure yourself that, okay, well, it's not been over before, and it's still ongoing.
Yeah.
And that there are clear material gains that have been won in this world, whatever they are. She's not that interested in doing this elaborate world building, nor should she be, because this is about Katniss. But we can infer, this is not a world where kids are fighting to death in arenas anymore, at the very least.
I mean, it being called the Hunger Games and her saying repeatedly that she's never going to get married because she doesn't want to have children because they'll have to go to the games. The ending being as a result of her and her comrades' actions, she can now have children because she's not afraid of them having to go to the games. That's a win.
But also acknowledging, we all live on graveyards.
Yeah.
In the best case scenario, we still live on graveyards. And those people, we are only here because of those people. We are here because of the Sennas. We are here because of everyone who has the Ruse and Prims, everyone who has died to push us forward another step.
And the Hunger Games, I think, spawned a whole like genre of copycats. And I don't think any of them ever really were very good, because I
No.
don't think that they were ever willing to sort of be as bleak as these books are, and to actually like face the reality of revolutionary struggle and like what it does to the people inside it. And I feel like that, I don't know, I don't really read YA anymore because I'm 37, but like I from what I have heard from people who do, YA doesn't really have much like this anymore. Though, I mean, like, it really goes to show, though, that, like, these books are so violent. They're so violent, but there's no sex in them at all. Not that I think that there should have been. Like, I don't think Katniss should have been fucking. Like, she doesn't really think about it. But, like, it goes to show, like, what we're, like, this is fine for kids. But, like, fucking is not.
Yeah, there's something to be said there. Oh, well, we have completed the Hunger Games trilogy, and I liked it a hell of a lot more than I expected to. I'm really glad that we did this. What are our, I don't know, what are our takeaways from this trilogy as a whole, and that we have not already said, if anything? I have one. Don't do the Hunger Games. That's bad.
Don't do the Hunger Games, but you should read the Hunger Games. Like, if you've been put off by the memes or the fact that it's YA or that it spawned a bunch of crappy, like, other shit like Divergent or whatever, or if you saw the movies or whatever, these books are really worth it. They're very easy reads, but they're really worth reading, especially nowadays, I think. I think that they have only become more relevant.
Yeah. And I think if you have, like, you know, if you have teenagers in your life too, especially, like, give them these books. Tell them to read these books. This is a great book for someone who's a little younger, you know, 12, 13, 14 to read.
I think these are especially good books to give young boys, because I think that there is kind of, I used to work as a bookseller before I started writing full time. And there was this thing where children, like the parents of little boys, would be like, oh, my son won't read books about girls, but my daughters will read books about boys. But I think that this is a really good book to give a boy.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, 100%. Because again, like it's not, you know, the love triangle is not about her, yeah, she's managing her attraction to, you know, Peeta and Gale, certainly, but that's caught up in so much other complexity. It's caught up in the war. It's caught up in her sorting through what having feelings even means when that's not really relevant to her survival mode, right? There's so much more to the triangle than just simply oh, like, this guy is what I'm about, because it's not what she's about, not until like the very end.
Yeah. Yeah, that was great. Recommend. Come on the pod, Suzanne Collins.
Yes, we're gonna. I genuinely will. I'll send her an email. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, do it.
I have to imagine she gets a lot of press requests, but you know, you never know. You never know. She could be listening right now.
Yeah, no, if she hasn't listened to the Cow Tools episode first and just sworn off podcast forever.
That's what got her in. She was like, okay,
she's a big Cow Tools fan, yeah.
Yeah, and then she heard like some other episodes, and she's like, "This is not as rigorous as your analysis of Cow Tools." But
I picked up a strange object from the cornucopia. It had a fork at one end.
The prongler. What do we have next week, Lenore? We have
Who Stole Feminism with Talia.
Fantastic. So we're doing a nonfiction.
Yeah, nonfiction from Gamergator's favorite feminist. So, boy.
So this book sucks.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I didn't realiase this book sucks.
Oh yeah,
okay.
no, I read.
Yeah, we haven't read something that sucks in a while. I guess Running Man sucked.
In a much more palatable way. Than
in a much more palatable and bland way that is not, part of a right-wing media sphere, right?
Well, we're about to get to read some awful feminist literature or pseudo-feminist. Wait, is it feminist?
So her whole thing is, Christina Hofstammer's whole thing is quote-unquote equity feminism, right? She draws a false distinction between that and gender feminism, the idea that feminism should be, and we talked about this with the Julia Serrano just the other day. Feminism seeks to erase all bigotry. Between erasing the subjugation of women by men, certainly, but also the subjugation of trans people by cis people. It seeks to redress all forms of inequality. And Christina Hoff Sommers comes in and she's like, no, that's fake and gay. Can women own property and businesses? Okay, cool, we're done. She's a libertarian feminist through and through.
This
you know
will
what?
be fun.
You know who we have to read? Somebody who I love to get mad at. We should read Camille Paglia.
Ooh, that would be good. Hell yeah.
What a fucking bitch.
Yeah, we will have a returning guest for that next week. So stay tuned, folks.
Hell yeah.
And if you know Suzanne Collins or you are Suzanne Collins, come hang out with me, and also go on the podcast, but also, come hang out.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, what do we have? Any sign off ideas here? I should have written a Gail bit for the end, but I didn't think that far ahead.
In response to Gail's fiery TV spot against PETA just makes him a cake that says, "Sorry, I made you sad."
I want some cakes
Gail,
at the end. He doesn't get to do that.
Yeah.
He's making cakes.
Mm-hmm.
He's making
He's
cakes.
making cakes in heaven. I mean, he's not dead, but
he's caked up, that's for sure.
That's what reignites that fire Katniss found in the arena. She's like, oh shit.
That cake, yeah. All right, folks.
We have established that she's a top, so.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Have a good one.
Take care.
Who wants to intro us?
Oh. I'll do it this week.
You can do it. Whatever.
Welcome back to... I almost hit the worst one possible. Let me get it again. God damn it.
Yeah, we're stealing your fucking podcast.
You traitor!
I'm a sleeper agent, actually, for the lads.
Welcome back to
Red
Corner.
I don't have any time for that No Girls Allowed podcast.
True.
Let me take that again.